Welcome to the workshop. This is week number 4, and y'all know that we now have a Facebook page, but we actually changed pages because we realized we made a mistake in making it private, which I apologize to all of y'all for this switch. That's what happened. So we wanted to make sure that the page was public because a lot of folks were trying to find it and they were hitting me up. So today, if you could put in the chat room a couple times tonight just to the correct Facebook page. I think it's called Kevin Powell's Writing Workshop. And some of y'all have gone over there already, but we're going to shut down the other page by tomorrow evening, close of business day, East Coast time, 6 p.m. So around 3 p.m. West Coast time. Hey, Vinny, Maginelli, I see you. Hey, Dawn Sons, Lauren Summers, Eunice, Larissa Lazada. Hola, ¿cómo estás? ¿Está bien? I see you. I see you.
Hello. Peace, family.
So hey. So let's do this first. Let's do what we've been doing the last couple of weeks. I just want to start. I literally came from a workout. I went here, showered. I had on Coltrane, My Favorite Things, which is one of my favorite songs. What movie is that from, y'all? Real quick, who knows what movie My Favorite Things was first in? Anybody?
Sound of Music.
Sound of Music, man.
Julie Andrews.
Yeah.
And if you've never heard Coltrane's,
Oh yeah,
this is beautiful. I mean, obviously
one of my favorites.
Yeah. So what we've been doing, because the first session 3 weeks back, session 1, we kind of just did a freestyle and talked about mental health a lot. And so again, it doesn't matter what our backgrounds are. This is not a religious thing. We just I just ask folks to please, whether you're on the phone or you're on the screen, to just close your eyes for a second. We're just going to do a couple of breathing exercises to get started. We know since last Tuesday, a lot of crazy stuff is going on in our little country here. So let's just close our eyes. We're going to breathe in. For those who don't meditate, we just breathe in through the nose, out through the mouth. Breathe in positive energy, positive thoughts. Let go of negative thoughts. Let go of sadness. I think I told y'all about 2 weeks ago, one of my friends, I lost a friend, dear friend. His funeral is actually finally tomorrow. They brought the body back from California, LA, where he was, to New York. So my day tomorrow will be at the funeral all day and supporting the family. So, positive energy for anyone. Eddie Van Halen, the great guitarist, Van Halen, who was named after him, just passed today, 65.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah.
Whoa.
We've lost a lot of people this year. COVID alone, as we know. Let's just positive energy for folks who are not here, family members, loved ones, iconic figures like a Ruth Bader Ginsburg, like a John Lewis, like a Eddie Van Halen. We've lost some giants this year. Bill Withers,
Oh, Bill Withers.
Chadwick Boseman.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Thomas Jefferson Byrd.
Thank you for shouting out Thomas Jefferson Byrd, who's been in a lot of Spike Lee's movies. Great.
That's crazy.
Let's take about 20 seconds, y'all. Let's do it together in unity. We've got over 100 people now in the room again. Every week it's been over 100 people. Let's just breathe in through our noses together. In, eyes are closed, in. Out slowly. Again, we're gonna do positive energy. Let's do it. 1, 2, 3, in through our noses, in, eyes closed. Just trust each other. This is a safe space. Out through the mouth. This is a non-judgmental space. And then last one, let's do a big in. And out through the mouth slowly. Keep your eyes closed and just open them slowly when you're ready to open them. Because a lot of times we don't know how to slow down, myself included. So that's what meditation is about, just kind of slowing things down. I love all of you. I don't know all of you, but I love all of you because I love people. I love all people. Welcome to this workshop. People have asked for it. People have said they need it. I realize now in week 4, I have needed it as well, just to be in a space of all this incredible genius and honesty and realness and us literally teaching each other, because it's not about me. It's, students are teachers and teachers are students. That's the way how we've been doing it. It's been interactive. We try not to mute. We try to keep everyone unmuted. unless folks are reading pieces, and every week we have people share pieces. This week we're focusing on blogs and essays. However, you know, as we saw last week, you know, in previous weeks, some people will read fiction, some people will read poetry. We're gonna, you know, we want to give a space, and we're trying to get as many people in as possible every week. We're really working hard. We made it at 9 o'clock last week, not just because of the debate last week, but, you know, we're trying to be respectful of people's times, the different time zones that folks are operating from. It's not just folks here in America. Most of us are Americans, but we have Canadians, we have folks from Mexico, we have folks from the Caribbean, you know, Latin America, even some late night folks from Europe and then Africa and Asia have jumped on, or even, you know, obviously it's 12, 13 hours ahead if we're in places like Japan. So we just want to say thank you. Can we say thank you to everyone that's here? Like thank ourselves for taking the time.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Definitely, thank you.
Thank you all. This has been beautiful. And so a couple of housekeeping things really quickly, because I want to get to it. You must register for each workshop individually. We want to shout out the Nuyorican Poets Cafe, Chris Lopez and Sadea James. Chris is with the Nuyorican Poets Cafe, and Jason Quinones and Daniel Galan, who's the CEO. We want to thank them for helping us make this happen. We could not do it without the Nuyorican Poets Cafe. Sadea James works with me, my teammate, my assistant, and she's also a poet in her own right, as y'all have found out. Brilliant young poet who's doing her thing straight out of Brooklyn. Shout out to Brooklyn, New York City's in the building, you know what I'm saying? Register for each workshop individually it's the same link, it never changes. And the Zoom link is always there on the registration page. Just let people know that all the videos from the previous workshops are there on that registration page. And we're also putting it on the new Facebook page, which is simply called Kevin Powell's, apostrophe as Kevin Powell's Writing Workshop. And we'll have the link there. Let's do this, y'all. Let's first recap. And can we unmute everyone? Mr. Lopez, can we unmute everyone? Let's recap. What was last week about? What did we do last week? Just for folks who were here, folks who were not here, can we just share? Hey, Styles, I see you. Hey.
Peace, brother.
Peace to you.
Poetry.
What about poetry? What is poetry? What is poetry? What were we talking about?
Haiku.
What's a haiku? What's a haiku? We've been posting haikus on the Facebook page over the last week. What's a haiku, y'all? Anyone? Haiku.
Japanese poem. Japanese poetry.
Okay. How old is it? Anyone? Did anyone look it up? Or anyone know? Like, how far back does that Japanese form of poetry go? Anyone know?
It's only 19th century, really, or maybe it's 18th, because Basho and those guys, the monks basically came up with it. And like in Japan, it's, you know, they use ideograms, so it's not the same. But when you break it into Western, we've gone into syllables with a 5-7-5 syllables. But modern haiku now has broken all the rules. And there's actually like some pretty good lit magazines and everything that are just specifically about haikus. And there's some amazing work being done.
Nice.
And Michael, if you could, you know, and I appreciate you already posting. Hey, Hickman, I see you. If you can post on our Facebook page what you said at some point, because again, part of this workshop is for us sharing information with each other. Now, I'm gonna keep it real with y'all. I love all the haikus that y'all shared on both Facebook pages. I see you, Arle Rowe. Hey, what's up?
Hey,
I see
bro.
you, Michelle Jones, Tatiana Richardson, I see you. Hey. Now, Michael made a very good point. In this Western world, i.e. America, where most of us are. Hey, Robin Curry, what's up? You know, the haiku should be first line, 5 syllables, right, Brother Michael? Second line, 7 syllables. And the third line, 5 syllables. Now, I have not commented. Go ahead, Michael, you want to say something?
Yeah, I just wanted to just make things a little bit more complicated. In addition, there's a form called a tanka. And a tanka is like a haiku with 2 other lines. So it's 5-7-5-7-7. And then if you take tankas and like do them together, and it's usually like a party game sort of thing. Everybody does a line. But you do those and it's called a ringa.
Let's put that. Yeah, we're gonna.
Hey, what was that?
Yeah, I see Dara put in Sinru, which is
Some of us who are a little bit older in this group, we're being forced to remember high school stuff like Tanka, T-A-N-K-A, T-A-N-K-A.
Yeah, not like the trucks.
No, not like the truck. But so I'm going to say this. I've read through many. I mean, y'all are brilliant writers. No matter what level you're at, I don't care if you've been before or not. I just love the fact that y'all are writing and doing your thing. Can we?
I wrote the storyline for Call of Duty Modern Warfare.
Who's speaking? Who's speaking, please? Okay, okay. Maybe it wasn't for us. But I'm going to say this. Some of the folks, I'm not going to say any names, who put their haikus on the Facebook pages, it was not 5, 7, 5 syllables. I saw 15, 23, 34.
It was 5, 7.
And, you know, let me just say this. Part of the reason why we were doing this exercise is because we're trying to get folks to think about how to write long form stuff, you know, but also how to write economically. Because sometimes, you know what, you know, let me speak for myself for a second. Sometimes I get to write an essay or an article that's 5,000, 10,000 words. Sometimes I'm told, like when Chadwick Boseman died, you know, I was told, can we mute whoever that is? I was told you got 700 words for Chadwick Boseman. And so I had to make that work. But because I had grown up studying haikus and tankas and other short forms of writing, especially poetry, make some noise, the poets out there. Make some noise, all the poets out there.
Shall we snap?
Snap.
Snap.
I don't even know when that started, but this has been around for a long time, the snapping of the finger. Poets.
It's the beat thing. It's from the beat poets.
That's the beat, right?
Yeah, they couldn't make noise in houses, so they're like you couldn't clap because it made too much noise. So you went to snapping because it kept the volume lower.
That's right.
So, and remember beach blanket bingo.
Oh my God.
Oh man!
Wow.
Going back now. All right.
Hey, so last week was poetry. What if I'm a fiction writer? What if I write blogs or essays? What if I write scripts or plays? Why should I care about poetry? Just real quick. Anyone who hasn't spoken, why should you care about
with your metaphors?
Metaphors? Does anyone remember some of
There's a rhythm in the things that you say. I'm sorry. No.
That it helps you get good at writing metaphors, and I think metaphors are really interesting in any form of writing, whether it's fiction or nonfiction, and poetry.
Metaphors, Emily.
I think it's also the imagery. The imagery that.
Who's speaking?
Annette.
Hey, Annette.
Hi. So I think a lot of it has to do with the imagery that's produced when you're writing poetry. You can use the same skill when writing fiction and creating that imagery that draws the reader into the characters or the story.
I'm going to jump in one last time because I have to leave soon anyway. But to me, it's about being concise.
Right.
And once you learn how to do that, it helps in every kind of writing you do. To learn how to make each word count, to like craft it like it's like a facet on a diamond.
Mm-hmm.
And we talked about not just paying attention to poets, but also songwriters. Don't laugh at me, y'all, but the first time I heard Snoop Dogg say getting funky on the mic like an old batch of collard greens, what I thought about was the poetry of Langston Hughes. Creative, figurative language. Y'all feel me? Listen to all the metaphors and similes of Smokey Robinson's song that the Temptations made famous, My Girl. We talked about that. Listen to the litany of Bob Dylan list and Blowing in the Wind. How many? You feel what I'm saying? And so it helps if you're writing fiction, if you're writing essays, blogs, what we're going to talk about tonight, plays. And if you listen to the language of August Wilson's plays, it's poetry. It's incredible poetry. Shakespeare is poetry, you know, and obviously Shakespeare did write poetry, and people don't realize August Wilson actually was a poet before he started writing plays.
Yeah.
So poetry is very important if you don't call yourself a poet. Anything else about last week or any of the previous weeks for those who are new for the first time that just kind of stuck with you all, some themes that have been traveling with us through these first 3-4 weeks of this workshop? Anyone? Everyone's silent? Oh my God.
I just had a comment, Kevin, about poetry helping with other writing is with cadence and rhythm.
Yes.
Because it helps in expressing yourself and the rhyme that the flow of your work.
For those for folks who weren't here last week, what we have been doing is posting in the chat room examples of the writing style. So last week we gave examples like Pablo Neruda, like Emily Dickinson, like Maya Angelou. Y'all remember any of the poets that we listed last week? Anyone? Any other poets come to mind that we put up last week?
Giovanni.
Emily Dixon.
Yeah, Emily Dixon, Nikki Giovanni. We talked about a bunch of folks. Sandra Maria Esteves, folks like that. Great.
Neruda.
Yep, we said Neruda. That's right. That's right. And then we talked about the different styles of poetry. So we're intentionally, because we only have 2 hours, and now that we have the Facebook page, which is great, we can share more stuff. We're intentionally, everything that we're saying here, we're also sharing on the Facebook pages. So if you have any questions about, well, what is a metaphor? What's a haiku? What's a tanka? Know that stuff is being posted. But the key thing is, there's a little word that we've been saying since the first workshop, y'all. If you're a writer, you have to what? It starts with an R.
Read. Yes.
A lot of writers don't read. We have to read, and this is really important. And there's no shame in the fact that some of us may not be as versed in certain types of literature as others. We're not in competition with anyone, are we? Anyone?
No.
We're not.
No.
But as you're hearing all these names being thrown out here, Emily Dickinson, Richard Wright, Maya Angelou, whoever it is, if you're not familiar with the work, I really recommend you all on your own time, look up this work, because it's really, really some of the best literature we've ever had. Anything else about poetry before we move on into essay and blogs? Anyone else about poetry? Or anything that's happened the first 3 weeks?
Oh, just because I'm new, this is my first week here. This is Chiquita Ominira.
Hey.
My first book that I wrote is based off of a poem that I wrote about my family. It's called Just Because. And one of the things I tell the children, because I like it's for children, it's a children's book. And I like going to schools and talking to them. I tell them, if it's important to you, it's important to somebody else. I said, all I did was speak my truth. I just spoke about my family. And, for me, I feel like the book has been doing pretty well, and getting around. So, but it was based off poetry, because that's what I did. I did poetry. I shared it with my grandmother right before she passed. So it's like she gave her approval. Then I had my son, and I saw him trying to read a book when he was, 9 months old, turned upside down. And I said, this is what I want to do. So what did I have? I had my poem. And so I took that and made it into a book.
I love it. Which is, thank you, Chiquita, for sharing that, because remember, y'all, for those who were here with the first workshop 3 weeks back, for whatever reason, half the conversation was about mental health, self-esteem. We were using terms like writer's block. I think we agreed that we're not going to use that term anymore. Is that right?
Yes.
We're not going to say like can't. We're going to get that out of our vocabulary. And I think we all realize, I don't care if you're African-American, West Indian, Italian, Jewish, Irish, Polish, straight, queer, transgender, no gender identity, able, disabled. Everybody's story is important. Everyone's story is important. And it's right in front of you. But how you decide to tell it, which is why we have workshops on essays and blogs, poetry, you decide the form that you want to tell it in. But what Chiquita says is so critical, because if you just look at your own history, your own journey, the journey of your family, Chiquita, many of us, you've got one of my favorite movies ever was called My Big Fat Greek Wedding.
That was a good one.
Someone looked it up. I can't remember her name, but she was actually rejected over and over again because as a Greek American, she was told by Hollywood folks, you look too quote unquote ethnic. It was ridiculous. And so she decided, what Chiquita said, you know what, my family and my family story as a Greek American, as a Greek person is very important. I'm going to make this into a play. And one of the people that came to see that play was Rita Wilson, who happens to be the wife and producer of Tom Hanks. And that's how My Big Fat Greek Wedding became one of the most successful films in the history of cinema. Just because she realized my story matters. Y'all with me out there?
Yeah.
Yes.
So let's, anyone else about poetry, writing, mental health, anything that we covered in the last 3 weeks before we move to essays and blogs? And again, I don't want people to be scared off and be like, I don't write essays, I don't write blogs. I feel like, and y'all correct me if I'm wrong, do you feel like every workshop, we basically cover a whole bunch of stuff? It's not just that one thing that we're talking about?
Yeah. Yes.
Yes.
And are y'all good with this interactive way of doing it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right on. So anyone else about the last 3 weeks, or can we move on to what is an essay, what is a blog?
Sure.
Keep moving?
Yes.
Yes.
So that's my question then. What is an essay? What is a blog? And are they the same thing or are they different? I don't know. Y'all tell me. What is an essay? What is a blog? What's the difference? How many of y'all read a blog?
It feels like nowadays, because blogs are just so popular. Like an essay was, you think more so for school, you think more so to obtain something, where it seems to me that blog is more like sharing. You know, you're not so concerned, and I don't know, you know, it's just a thought of what I think about when I hear it. It's not like you feel like you have to be politically correct, or you have to have every right down pack. It's just more open, more free.
Or an essay?
For the blog. But an essay, you do have to be more correct. You know, you're looking at things more carefully, I find. I mean, although, you know, people are doing to make it, can I say it's almost like your poetry in the sense, the flow of a blog, you know, because the people are sharing their thoughts and how they want to come across, and they want to gather people's interest, where essay seems more formal. I mean, that's just my feeling when I first think about it. And being old school.
Yeah. And then I'm thinking new school. Like new school blogs are different. Melissa.
Hey, Melissa.
Hi. So I was thinking that the blogs today are totally.
Can we center whoever's speaking, Chris Lopez, please? Is that possible? I'm sorry, Melissa. I just want everyone to see you.
No, I was just thinking that she's like the old school blogs. Like I remember the old school blogs about. I guess it could be of any interest. It could be whatever interest that may interest you. However, the blogs that we think of today, the more trendier blogs, correct? So the more trendier blogs where it's about entertainment or what I call infotainment. There was more about information, but also I like the music industry and current events, so I called it infotainment. Blog. So I guess you can consider that as well. Different sorts of blogs.
So I'm still trying to understand. Go ahead.
This is Kimberly Jenkins. I feel like a blog is a forum, or it's a platform for your thoughts or your writing of any kind. So you could post an essay on a blog, you could post poetry on a blog. It's sort of an online forum to share your voice, so to speak. I had the words in my head before I started to open my mouth, but I feel like it's a space for you to post your writing, your thoughts, your commentary, your editorials. It's just a spot for you to showcase all of those thoughts. And then, you know, it can look like anything. You could put music on your blog. You could post videos on your blog. You can invite conversation on your blog. So it's like a blog. It's a blog of stuff.
Wait, I thought we were told not to define a word with a word. So blog.
It's easier.
What is the definition of
I'm still waiting for someone to say a blog is. What is a blog? But KJ, you're right. Everything you said, I agree with. But what is a blog? A simple definition. Anybody?
I thought it was an online, basically an online free-form essay is what I thought it was.
Who's there?
Yeah.
This LC.
No. Yeah.
LC, I agree with that. Say that nice and slow.
Yeah.
LC.
I just thought it was an online more free-form essay, type of essay, as opposed to the, you know, I mean, the fact that it occurs online, it was a weblog. Is how it started. So as opposed to in a newspaper or in a magazine or something, it was specific to the web. And like I said, it ended up being more free form and allowed you some liberty from the structure of essay writing.
Is it like a interactive journal?
One second, please. We're trying to get folks, Chris and Sadea, to saying that they can't unmute. Can we unmute everyone, please?
If you go into participants and then hit that key for participants, there's a thing that says unmute. You can click it yourself. Yeah.
Yeah, but it was saying the host wouldn't allow you to unmute for some of us, but I'm unmuted now.
Okay, good. Were you
I
going
have
to say
a
something?
thought, Kevin.
Yep.
I feel like a blog is a stream of consciousness where you just, you're speaking what's in your head. And an essay seems like it's more structured, meaning has a topic sentence. It has a beginning, middle, and end.
Ending. Yes.
Well, based on what David just said, is Jay-Z or the Notorious B.I.G., are they bloggers? Because neither one of them ever wrote their rhymes down. They just did stream of consciousness. Are they verbal bloggers? I'm just asking.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Guess it depends on your definition.
Blogs are very much conversational. So conversation, whether it's in a song or just talking, person to person. It's very unstructured conversational writing.
Someone just said Jay is more of an essayist. We're going.
Oh gosh.
Jay-Z's an essayist, but was Biggie a blogger?
Reference story to tell. Story to tell.
Biggie was more of a poet.
Biggie was a poet.
He was a poet, yeah.
So there's we're going back to last week now. We're going back to poets, but then we're
I'm going to add that.
Is that Dodie?
It's Dodie in Kansas City. Hi, all. Sneaking in here. Yeah, hi. I'm going to suggest the blog is a platform and an archive, and the content within it is not called a blog. So if a person posts at a platform that archive on their website, that's what I think of as a blog. And the content
You're breaking up a little bit.
It can be a mistake, it can be whatever. Photo.
You think, and just do the audio for a second, Dodie, so we can hear you clearly?
Sure. Test. Did you ask me a question I didn't hear? I'm sorry.
I can hear, we can hear you. Uh-oh.
There might be a delay. I was just commenting on the blog as a platform.
Yes.
Did you hear that part? Okay.
Yes.
So I have a question. How many of you all out there have a website or at least a blog space?
I do.
Okay.
I do.
Consistently
I have a website.
write on your blog space, and how many of y'all haven't done it in about 10 years?
Me.
I'm creating one.
I want to start with the people who haven't done it in a while. For the folks who why did you create a blog space? This just the folks who created a blog space, but it's been a year, it's been a couple years, it's been 10 years. Why'd you stop?
Life.
Busyness.
Yeah, busy.
Yeah.
Busy. Content as well.
Wait. One person, Alexander, one person at a time, please.
I felt like it was a distraction.
Who's speaking?
Hey, Kevin. Oh, no.
Oh my gosh, I see all these lighting up.
Hey, this is Kim. I was just gonna say it's hard
Kim.
to find content sometimes, so it'll be like 2 or 3 months before I post again because I'm just like, okay, what do I want to say? So that's what I've been struggling with is finding consistent content.
Where do you live, Kim? What part of the world are you in?
Queens.
New York City.
Yes.
And you're saying you have a hard time coming up with content. Do you think that a blog has to be personal about you all the time, or?
No, and I know a lot are focused, like have different themes, whether it's like food or like, I have a girlfriend who writes about her motorcycle riding. And so, but it's just like, I generally write about everything, but I still even have a hard time coming up with that as well. So yeah, I was trying to find an angle per se. I didn't know if it was going to be book reviews or TV. I didn't know what it was, and so therefore it's turned out to be like so inconsistent. It's kind of just been life observations. So yeah, that's what it's ended up to be.
I love what Don L just said to all of us in the chat room. Life is your content. Life is your content. I'm not saying, again, what I've suggested to folks that are just getting in as a longtime writer, I do not like the term writer's block. It's something I've used in the past. I just think that, there's times where we may not have the words coming, but we go do something else, but there's always words around us. What was that phrase that we started with the first week for folks who weren't here the first week? I am a what?
I am a writer.
I am a writer.
I'm a what?
A writer.
I'm a writer.
I am a writer.
Some writers have to write, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
It's very time consuming.
Gyra, you said it. Wait, who said
Can
it's
I
very
say
time?
something, Kevin? Can I ask you a question?
Yeah. Wait, who's trying to ask a question?
Karika.
Hey, Karika.
Hi, Kevin. I just feel like for me, when the pandemic happened, the last post I did was about the pandemic, and this was in March. And then I was like, oh my God, I have all this time on my hands. Should I use the time to work on my blog or to finish my book? So I finished my book instead of mentally worrying about what am I going to post on a blog every week or something. I just like.
But you were writing, which is the point. At least you were writing.
Yeah, but I wasn't. Blogs are kind of immediate, kind of like you put it out and then you get immediate feedback.
Right.
But a book is a little more lonely.
Can I say something, Kevin?
Yes, Jerome.
I started blogging, and initially I was getting a lot of responses to my blogs. When that started to wane, then I stopped blogging. So I think a lot of us stop blogging because we initially feel like we're doing it for others in order to create conversation, and then when that conversation seems to die down, I know me personally, I stopped. But since I started this, I started writing again in it.
I love that honesty. Let me say this in response to Jerome and to Karika and folks speaking. A couple of things. So I'm getting older, y'all, obviously. And I've been writing for a long time. Since I was 20, I got my first check when I was 20 years old, 25 whole dollars. And I will never forget that. I value that. There have been times when I've had incredible responses to my writings. There's been many times where nobody responded. But if you really are a writer, I am a writer, hashtag I am a writer. You have to write, tell your story, tell your observations no matter what. Even through the times where it seems like no one's paying attention, because guess what, y'all? There is someone paying attention. You know what I mean? Because everything is universal from your specific experiences. We've been saying every week, if you tell your story, what you feel, I guarantee you it's going to resonate with someone. And don't assume because people are not saying something, like there's people who are quiet, who are here every week. I'm seeing people who are here every week who are not speaking, but they're here every week. So there is always an audience out there. But for me, it's not just about writing for an audience. It's like you just have to get this out of you, which is what we were saying in the first week of the workshop. It's important for me to write this play, for me to write this essay, this blog, this poem, this memoir, this autobiography, because this is as important to me as breathing. Does that make sense, you all?
Yeah, thank you for that. Yeah.
That's important. And then you put it out there, and this is where the honing the craft, doing rewrites, reading the best things that have ever existed in the field that you're writing in. If it's science fiction, then you read the best science fiction. If it's horror stories, you read the best horror stories. Whatever it is, you've got to immerse yourself in that. And I agree that life is, Donnell, I'm so glad Donnell said it, like your life is your content, and we got people on this group who are multimedia artists, who do, Leslie Segar is a dancer who's writing her autobiography. Karika takes great pictures, but she's also a writer. Kay Hickman's a photographer, but she's also doing videography and filmmaking. You feel what I'm saying? Within this group, we got people who are able to talk about life in different forms, but you have to do it. And I just want to encourage you all, because it's come up a few times, let's not be so hard on ourselves, because one of the things I've also been in my lifetime is a very tortured writer, where if I didn't write X amount of words every day, then something was wrong with me, or people didn't respond the way I wanted them to respond, and maybe my work sucks. Well, sometimes it has sucked, I will admit that, you know what I'm saying? But we can't beat ourselves up. Let me say this other thing real quick. So, and someone referred to themselves as old school. I did come up in a world where if you wrote an essay, you were trying to be like Joan Didion, James Baldwin, Bell Hooks, Susan Sontag, Gloria Steinem. You were trying to write like, Norman Mailer, like these classic pieces. Gay Talese was one of my favorite writers ever. Whew. If y'all have never read Gay Talese's cover story on Frank Sinatra in Esquire, it's called Frank Sinatra Has a Cold. Can we put that in the chat room? Frank Sinatra Has a Cold. It's considered one of the greatest essays ever written, greatest pieces ever written. It's incredible writing. Okay. And then fast forward to the late 1990s, Tom Junod wrote a piece called Can We Say Hero? And that article was about Mr. Rogers, who we all grew up on. Mm-hmm. It's an incredible work, right, kind of essay. And y'all basically defined it. who was it that said the word blog came from web blog, and it kind of evolved in the 1990s remember when the digital revolution was beginning to kick in, y'all? Remember when we started going into the internet? Remember chat rooms and all that stuff?
Mm-hmm.
Some of y'all remember that stuff. We're old enough to remember that stuff.
Yes.
So that's where web blog came from, and then it became blogging. And you're absolutely right. I'm holding in my hand right now my iPhone, and so I know there's times when I'm posting Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, little messages. I find myself over the last several years editing this stuff because I'm like, these are like micro blogs that I'm writing. I need to say something about, yo, Donald.
Baby,
Hello? But the difference for me, well, I'll say this, I agree. Blogging is an informal way of writing for a lot of people. You just get it out. You just get it out. Because I'm a very anal writer, I edit everything, even the things that might be considered blogs. Because what I try to avoid, to be honest with you all, is falling into bad habits around spelling and grammar and run-on sentences and stuff like that. Does that make sense, y'all?
Yes.
And so this energy I would put into something that's considered a blog, like on medium.com. How many of y'all have ever posted something on medium.com or HuffPost or, blog spaces? The same energy that I put into medium.com piece, I put into an essay that's going into my book. I take it at the same level of seriousness. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yeah.
But you're absolutely right. An essay is considered, this more serious form of a narrative about something. It could be about you, your life, something that you're observing, food, sports, whatever. And a blog is considered informal. I just believe we should take both seriously, because if you're going to be, you should practice good habits as a writer, and the craft of writing is something I don't think we should play with, no matter what form that we're writing in. Does that make
Kevin,
sense?
can I say one thing?
Yes, absolutely.
This is Kim again. So what you said about, Kim Scarlett.
Hey, Kim Scarlett.
So what you said about posting to Twitter and Facebook, I went to the African American Museum in DC like 3 weeks after it opened, and I spent all day there, so like 6 hours. And when I came out, I just like tapped out a Facebook post. Like literally, I was sitting in front on the benches and tapped out a Facebook post. And one of my sorors at the time worked for Dallas Morning News, and she was just like, "Oh, I'm gonna refer this to the travel editor of the paper," and literally, that was the first thing that I got paid for, because that Facebook post turned into something that the Dallas Morning News printed. And it was wild, because I was just like, I got $400 just for going to doing what I was going to do anyway. But it was a Facebook post, and they didn't really edit me at all.
Kim, I'm so glad you said that, because I've seen some of the most brilliant writing as Instagram posts, Facebook posts. And I know that that's immediate for us, because I've done it as well. But I've also taken things just like Kim Scarlett just talked about. I was like, you know what? This post I just shared, I'm going to make this into an essay or a blog. I personally kind of use the words essay and blog interchangeably. It means the same thing to me at this point. I got something on my mind. I need to get it off my chest.
Right.
That's what it means to me. But I also take seriously the Gay Taleses, the Norman Mailers, the Joan Didions, the James Baldwins, the Bell Hooks. I'm like, if I'm going to write in this form, I want to write like the best writers who've ever existed in this particular form, just like we were talking about with poetry last week. Dea, can we throw up a couple things really quickly? Here are 6 essayists that I think we should be aware of, or bloggers, whatever term you want to use, but just writers who write about, who observe things. I think if nothing else, can we agree, and please challenge me, please push back, but I feel like what makes an essayist, an essay, a blog that's similar is that they're both observing something. They're responding to something. They're talking about something that matters to the writer. Does that make sense, you all?
Yes.
Yeah.
This is Elle, real quick. It's interesting seeing the different reasons why people started blogging and why they stopped and whatnot. And kind of liking back to something I said a long time ago, my blog was really about realizations that I had. I never publicized it. It was things that I either thought that nobody was ready to hear me say, or that I was not ready to let somebody hear me say them. So the blog, although it's public, I didn't tell anybody about it. So every once in a while, somebody will come across it because I use the same name on just about everything. But it really was for me to get some of the things out of my head and literally call them realizations. Like I may realize something talking here and write it down. And I'm a Post-it queen. Post is supposed to be the death of me. When they find my body, I'll be surrounded by Post-its. But I can never come back to that Post-it, so I started putting them in Tumblr because nobody really goes to Tumblr anymore, especially now that they got rid of porn. But regardless, that wasn't my part. I had no idea there was porn on Tumblr. It tells you my mind is somewhere else. But anyway,
Hey,
I found that was a safe place
no
for me to put
judgment.
things.
You just keep it real in this writing workshop.
I found out about the porn later, but anyway, so I just started putting my little realizations there, and then a couple of people said, "What's this? Is this you?" I'm like, yeah. But it kind of gave me, you know, an ability to say what I had to say, and kind of saying it out loud in a crowd, like nobody might hear it, but somebody might. So I kind of like my introduction to saying, okay, I said this in public. The fact that nobody commented really didn't bother me because that wasn't the reason that I did it.
Right.
And so now I realize how many realizations I've posted on there, and I've been trying to reorder them and fashion them into this hodgepodge of a so-called book with some other things.
It is a book.
So what you were saying about how your Facebook and your Facebook posts and your tweets turned into something else, I feel that.
And I want to encourage you all because they're going to be things that you're going to be passionate about that you're going to post about on Facebook, Instagram. I've noticed, especially in those two places, because obviously Twitter has the character limitations. You know, what I do, honestly, now, even if I text something, I'm like, you know what? I just text this paragraph to somebody. I'm going to put this in my notes page because this actually can be something I can build on for a play, for a screenplay, for an essay, blog, whatever it is. You know, just don't give away your words to people, y'all, is what I'm saying. You know, and if you see responding to a Facebook post, go right ahead, Allison.
Oh, thanks. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. I just wanted to piggyback what the other writer was saying about the Post-it notes. I'm writing a blog also on LinkedIn, and I had a friend. We all work in communication, so we plan like communications campaigns for people, and that's kind of our day job. And so I wanted to write this blog post about healing Black professionals, just from my experiences in working in corporate and knowing that a lot of people are going to be laid off between now and November. And my friend helped me to plan out my blog. So we discussed it, we discussed the purpose, we talked about what was going on, you know, with the Black Lives Matter movement, Black people's experiences, and what I wanted to say to my community, to Black professionals. And so she helped me to plan it out, come up with a topic for each blog post. We planned out the duration, so it would be like every other week. And then we decided on 7 post blog series. And from that blog series, that will be used for a book proposal that I'm working on about mental health for Black people and Black professionals. So I would say for a lot of people were saying you had those times where they've abandoned their blog writing. I've gone through that as well. And I think my experience is that if you rely too much on impulse, I think historically there's been some myths about who writers are and that we're supposed to be these people who are inspired by muses and we just write when something hits us. It's not realistic. I think we just have to make it a little bit more structured and plan it out, put dates behind it, and actually have it build on something in order to grow the craft. Otherwise, you are just running through a stream of consciousness. But if you really want to build on it, that's been my experience. You have to plan it. You have to come up with a theme, develop a series, put dates on it, deadlines, edit it, you know, the whole 9. So that's just what I share.
Well said, Allison. Thank you so much. If I can add a caveat to this, I also want to be sensitive to the poets from last week, because depending on the kind of writing that you do, like those of us who are poets, sometimes it just comes out of us. We can't predict. Even fiction writers, it's like, I got to write this down. But to Allison's point, I mean, I feel like you do have to treat writing like it's a job. It's a career. You know, and she's right. It's like, you know, I know that between 4 and 7, 8 a.m., every morning I'm either reading or writing or researching something. It's always, I'm clear, this is my time because this is my job. I got to get this done during this time, you know, and I agree with that. I just want to encourage us as creative people to leave room for the magical inspiration. You know what I'm saying? Because you can't predict when you're going to be hit by something. Like I gotta take that picture. I gotta create that dance piece. I gotta make this into a short film. You just don't know where the magic might come from as well. So I think it's not an either or. I think it's actually both. Have a structure for your writing life, but also be open to these inspirations that are wildly unpredictable. Let's do this. Let's go to the chat room real quick, everyone, and look at the names of the essayists. These are my favorite, some of my favorite essayists ever, including a young Latinx sister named Jaquera Diaz. Some folks you may have heard of, some you may not have heard of, but that's okay, because part of this workshop too is for us to not just share so-called famous or established writers or well-known writers, but like, you know, for those of us in New York City, to me, Greg Tate is one of the greatest writers that I've ever read in my life. He wrote most famously for the Village Voice in the 1980s, 1990s. Greg could write about, he's still alive. He could write about anything, like anything. And I'd never read any, you know, I was a young writer reading him. I was like, this is incredible. What we have there is something about hip hop, but I actually want to recommend a different piece as well. He wrote what I think is the definitive piece on the late great artist Jean-Michel Basquiat. You know, look up that piece that Greg Tate wrote on Jean-Michel Basquiat. I know we're talking about essays and blogs right now, but it's a long piece, but it is some of the most brilliant writing I've ever seen, because it's about Basquiat, but it's also about the art world. You know what I mean? But it's also about what happens when you become famous, because Basquiat, as some of y'all know, was one of the many people who died at that infamous age of 27.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Amy Winehouse, Jim Morrison, Jimi Hendrix, Janis Joplin, Basquiat, you know? Yep, Quentin said Greg Tate is the truth. I agree. Can we just write some things down real quick? We're gonna do an exercise. Everyone got something to write with real quick? I'm actually gonna just give back to y'all what y'all have all said. That's what we're gonna do. Just let me know when y'all are ready. Just say ready. It's not gonna be a lot, but it's just ready. Okay.
Ready.
So, number one, whether you call yourself, and you can write it in your own short, I'm gonna try to make this as simple as possible. Whether you call yourself an essayist or a blogger, doesn't matter. That's your own personal choice. I most of the time say essayists, but some people say bloggers. We must take the craft of writing seriously. And we must read the best essayists and or bloggers who are out there, both present day and historically, in my humble opinion. The craft of writing, because every workshop, it keeps coming back to the craft of writing.
You know you're gonna need to repeat that, right?
Yes, LC, I definitely will repeat that.
I got seriously.
Well, number one, no matter what you call it, essay or blog, take the craft of writing seriously. That's number one. Let's make it a number two. Read the best essayists, bloggers ever, period. You know, new ones, old ones, folks who are alive, folks who are not alive. You know, there's some suggestions there. And let Bell Hooks, Greg Tate, Jaquera Diaz, Norman Mailer, Joan Didion, let them lead you to other people. You know, if you're writing an autobiography, you read the best autobiographies that ever existed. You know, if you're writing a science fiction book, you got to read, you know, Ray Bradbury, you got to read Octavia Butler. It's pretty basic, right? You know, if you're writing plays, how do you skip over Lorraine Hansberg, Ntozake Shange? How do you not appreciate Shakespeare? You feel what I'm saying? The third thing around essays / blogs, it basically is, you have to write about things you're passionate about. You can't write about things you're not passionate about. Passion. If it's food, then you got to write about food. My brother Quentin Walcott is on this call. He's one of the most incredible thinkers and activists and doers I know around redefining manhood on this planet. That's his passion. So I can imagine, and I know, because I've been around him for a long time, this is the kind of stuff he would write about, he would speak about. Why would you write about anything you're not passionate about? Right. Whether you call it an essay or a blog, why would you write about anything you're not passionate about? Seriously.
Hey, Kev.
Yes, Samson.
Yeah, Samson here. One thing I learned when I was at BT and as a journalist is that sometimes you may get topics that you don't feel like covering, right? And you have to uniquely tell this story and give it a perspective with a twist. So say, like, if I wasn't passionate about the content in general, I would internalize it and make it more than what it just is. Like, say if it was about food, now I'm gonna put some historical content behind the reason for this food, or something that's a perspective that I am passionate about, and turn that subject that I may not have been passionate about into something that I am passionate about.
That's a great point. And Samson is able to do that because he's a well-rounded person, a student for life, who has all these different skill sets and these different experiences, and he's traveled and he's lived. And so, yeah, those of us who are journalists, myself, Samson, yeah, we definitely have gotten tasks or assignments where we're like, I really don't want to do this, but you have to figure it out, because that's where the creativity comes in. Is it, y'all feel what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
You remix it, basically. But that passion, you have to figure it out somewhere, you know? The next thing I would say about an essay or a blog, you know, is what we're going to do next. Let's take 10 minutes, and everyone in the first person, write the paragraph about something that you've been really passionate about this year of all the craziness. Let's take 10 minutes. And we're going to have a few of us share what we write. Write something new. Don't pull something out the crates. You know, this is going to write something with I being you, all of us. You know, we got 121 people in this room today. Write in the first person something that you're really passionate about that's been going on with you this year. And we're going to share some of it. Is that cool?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Because sometimes we got to learn how to write on the spot. So this is an exercise. Well, it's 8 o'clock in New York. It's 5 o'clock on the West Coast. So 10 minutes, just a paragraph. I'm not asking for a whole blog or essay, just a paragraph, something that you're very passionate about. Can we mute everyone, Mr. Lopez, while they write? I'm gonna get some water, agua. I'll be back. Mr. Lopez, Ms. James, can we unmute everyone, please? Hey, everyone.
Hey.
Hey.
It's like,
Hi.
Hey.
all we're missing is a nap time. Y'all ready for that?
Voice is up.
So too early.
I can always take a nap. Right?
We just had over 100 people. We just had over 100 people online. How are you, sister?
Kevin, this is the job. Can I ask you just one question?
Yes, please.
That Didion piece, was that the one about the death
Of her husband?
Yeah.
No.
Oh, that was yeah, I remember that piece.
Joan
Okay.
Didion, y'all, is, I mean, she's just amazing. In 1 year, she lost her husband, and was it her daughter? In the same year, I believe.
I think so.
Yeah,
Yeah, it was.
yeah, and it was, I mean, she wrote the most amazing book. The sample short essay that we have in the chat room was actually from her most famous book, Slouching Towards Bethlehem, from the 60s, which was written a couple years after Baldwin wrote The Fire Next Time. It was like this whole wave of great essays that came out of the 60s. Thank you for the question, Josh. How do y'all feel? How do y'all feel?
Great.
Great.
Feel good.
Okay.
Energized.
The other thing too, y'all, and I think we've said it each week, you know, no matter what type of writer you are, what type of book, or play, whatever it is working on, challenge yourself to write in different genres. That's important. You know, I know some folks have said to me, well, Kev, I'm a poet. I'm going to check out. I don't want to be a part of the essay blog workshop. Or people who are essay blogs, it's like the poetry's not for me. I think it's all connected. I would like to get a few people to share what they wrote. Oh, a hand went up already. Wait, okay.
I'd
Darren,
like to.
Michael, hold on a second.
I'd like to
are
as
you
well.
in the chat room, folks? Wow.
I'm here, Kev.
Let me get a few folks. And folks, please know if you had stuff that was prepared that you wanted to read tonight, we got more weeks to go. We're probably going to add on to this workshop series after the 7th week, and we also have a Facebook page to post stuff as well and get feedback. Carla Vega, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
You ready?
Yes. Hi, everyone. This is my first time here. Thanks for
Carla.
Hey, Carla.
Hi.
Where are you at? Where are you?
I'm in LA.
California.
Yeah. From the Bay Area, but so most of my stuff is often poetry or stream of consciousness. So here I go. I have been on a decolonization journey to get closer to me, who I am, where I come from, who my people are and were, to become closer to my ancestors and unearth their stories, to find my truth, to hone in more deeply my essence, to validate my voice and existence. My ancestors speak to me through my artistry, acting, and writing, and I'm feeling their presence more strongly these days. I want to honor my history and my life more fully. This journey resonates because it strips away conditioning ingrained since I was born and helps me to have understanding and compassion for those who raised me. The veil is lifting. It has always been thin, and now I face this connection with more strength and a deeper sense of strength and self-love. I hope to share my voice more fully so that I may inspire and nurture our humanity with love and honesty. I read to not feel alone in my perspective and thoughts. I write so others may not feel so alone. I write to connect to spirit. I write letting spirit speak through me. I create to heal, inspire, and touch hearts. That's as far as I got.
Wow.
Yay.
And you did
Beautiful.
That's
fantastic. You just wrote that.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
You just wrote that.
Yeah.
Wow.
My gosh.
That was great.
You've never read in front of people before?
Oh no, I have read before.
Poetry.
But not in this class, not in this workshop.
Wow, that was incredible. What inspired that for you?
You asked your prompt. You said start with I and what have I been passionate about, and this year it's been the talk and the journey of decolonization that's been up even more strongly
Look at that
So
baby
yeah.
shine. Wow. Thank you for sharing. That was powerful. Any thoughts for Carla?
Wonderful. That's powerful.
Yeah. Decolonization. I love it.
Wow. Are you going to continue to work on that piece? Because I think that would be a great essay or blog, whatever word you choose.
I've always wanted to start a blog actually, because it seems like a more free and safe space to just have that stream of consciousness and not have to have a structure. I get stuck in social media because it's just, I don't know, but yeah. So
I loved the lines where you said, I read so I'm not alone, and I write so others won't feel alone, or some, I'm paraphrasing, of course, but that was just really beautiful.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
I love how you are. This is Kimberly Jenkins. I love the words that you chose, like unearthing and history and decolonizing stories of your ancestry. So I love that, because we're on the same journey, because that's pretty much, I mean, I'm stuck in sort of a academic mode, because I'm writing my dissertation, but that's where my voice is coming from, even in my dissertation, and trying to find a space for that in academia, like exactly what you're doing. And for me, it's like the rhizome of Blackness, and defining an identity, and creating your own narrative, but doing that from the context of the historical ancestry. I love that. Like, you do need to do a blog. I would love to read it. It would be inspiring.
Yeah. And I shared, Carl and everyone, for those who don't know, you have medium.com. You could easily set up an account to blog there, or you can create your own website through spaces like wix.com, which is easy. One of the other questions that was asked, Carl and everyone, was once you write a blog or write a series of blogs, how do you promote it? Well, I'm going to say to you all writers, we're all writers, right? Fellow writers out there?
Yes.
Yeah.
What did you call that last thing? Wix.com?
Wix. It's in the chat room. It's Wix. Wix.
Oh, Wix.
.com. Sorry, it's my New York accent. Sorry.
New Yorkers don't have an accent.
We don't have an accent. We say water in Manhattan, we have an accent.
Just the confidence.
But so not only should writers also have to, and we're going to get to this in later sessions, we have to learn how to promote our work. And so I strongly recommend everyone here, you should be on the big four. The big four are Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn. And every time you write something, if you post it somewhere, it's published somewhere, you got to let people know that it exists. If you're comfortable. Some folks say they're not comfortable, but I believe that you should let people read your work at some point.
Can I just chime in right quick? This is Michael.
Hey, Michael.
So I've been kind of hiding out for the past year from Instagram, Facebook, and I've been on LinkedIn, which this year, but I'm having, how can I say this? I'm having second guessing myself when posting stuff. For example, yesterday I was going to post a picture that I took with R. Kelly, and this happened, I want to say in 2008, when I was a talent booking producer for the Kiss Wake Up Club. And what happened was his reps they wanted people to send in their questions. They wanted journalists and DJs to send in their questions. So I had sent mine in, mine got picked. Others didn't want to do it because they felt that as a journalist, it's free speech. I should be able to ask what I want to. I wanted to post this and the little story behind the picture. And then I wrote in the post, it's what transpired after my interview that I looked at things differently. And then when I reread it, I deleted the whole post. Because then I started second guessing myself that what if somebody asked, like, what did you see? Even though it was just one word that I didn't like. So I deleted the whole post and didn't post it up. And I've been very reluctant on posting anything until I finish writing this book. I don't know if this is a good idea because I keep hearing you say, and I've heard other writers say that you should post what you're writing when you're in that moment. So I'm just having a tough time overcoming that challenge right now.
Well, I wouldn't to speak for myself, and other writers, please chime in. I do not post excerpts of my book, any book that I've written, ahead of the book being out there. I wouldn't do that personally. What I'm talking about is, if, you know, a poem or an essay or a blog, you know.
Okay. Okay.
That's different.
Okay. Understand.
And then, you know, Marissa Benson brought up a great point on the chat room just now. Then there's, you know, there's copyright issues. People plagiarize, people steal. I've seen my work show up in other people's work. You know, how do you protect it? I mean, it's the Library of Congress. You try to copyright stuff. You know, I always put the copyright 2020, 2019 whenever I write something. Like, I intentionally now date all my poems. I even put the time at the bottom of my poem and the copyright information.
If I could say something, Michael, you know, now you're saying that it was just one word, right? So it's nothing wrong with some of the time setting it aside, because let's say that was yesterday that you deleted the whole post, but today it's just the one word. If you had taken that time to maybe go to leave it where it was and then go back and just change that one word that you're feeling differently about, you probably would still have that entire piece.
Yeah. And, you know, I'm looking at the schedule, y'all. Week number 7 says how to market, publicize your writing. That's really going to be our workshop that's going to focus on come with a lot of information about copywriting. And, you know, Marissa made a great point. What if you do publish some platforms like Instagram? If you post something there, they consider that a published work. You know, and Michael Sindler posted something in our Facebook page earlier today that some so-called legitimate publications will say, well, you posted this on Facebook or you posted this on Instagram, so we can't publish it now because it's not original to us. For example, the blog that I wrote about Chadwick Boseman for CNN.com, I couldn't have posted that on Facebook or Instagram first because CNN.com would not have published it. Does that make sense, y'all?
Yeah.
You know, and so just think about, we'll get to those things because this business thing is important. And someone asked, it's LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. Those are the 4. Hold on 1 second. Self-promotion is difficult, particularly if you're not knowledgeable on this platform. I'm going to ask a simple question. Does everyone in this, it's still 120 people here, does everyone here at least have 5 to 10 people in their lives that they talk with on a regular basis?
Yes.
I'm no child. I've been alone my whole life, but I know at least 5 to 10 people. I'm just saying. That's your audience. You know, who do you share your work with? People around you. You start there, wherever you are. If you're in Seattle, if you're in Washington State, if you're in Wisconsin, if you're in Kentucky, if you're in California, you start with the people around you, and it grows from there. And again, when we get to the week number 7, I'm going to really take y'all through, you know, I'll share my personal journey. I started locally. It wasn't national at first. I started locally, then it grew into a national platform, you know, and I'll talk about that. Arle, you ready to read?
I'm ready. Can you guys hear me?
Yep, and I see hands up. I see your hands up, folks. I'm going to try to come to all of y'all. Go ahead, Miss Arle.
Okay, this is my first time reading anything in front of anyone. So here it goes. And I thought I was going to write about passion, and then it turned into spirituality. So maybe it seems like it might be both, but I'll start. It says, my spirituality has saved my life during the time of COVID. Isolation, fear, love loss, heartache, heartbreak, my future, my son, my family, myself. I've cried a million tears. I've consumed more alcohol in 6 months than I have in 46 years. I love marijuana now. Who knew? I've been humbled. I've fallen and risen more times than I can count. I've experienced pain, the worst pain I've ever felt. I am broken, but I am also healed. I pray more. I dance more. I sing more. I fantasize more. I shout more. And I write more. Did I mention that I pray more? My son thinks I'm crazy because to him, he hears me talking to myself, but I'm not talking to myself. I'm not alone. I'm talking to God. I'm talking to my spirit guides. I'm talking to my ancestors. I'm talking to my angels. I'm talking to my grandmas. They are here with me. They are here with us daily. They save me. They save me. Every day they save me. They wake me up at 3:33 a.m. to deliver signs and realizations and revelations and things I should know. They shelter me. They grow me. They scold me with love. I am love. I am loved. I am capable. I am protected. I am royalty. I am shored up. I am divine. I'm Lexington's mom. I am Arlay. I am spirit.
Wow.
Oh,
Beautiful. Wow.
that's amazing.
That is beautiful.
Thank you.
Powerful, raw.
Got me over here crying.
Thank you.
Sorry, guys.
Right.
No, thank you.
No,
We all
So
feel that way.
personal. Thank you for sharing that.
I mean,
You're so honest.
Writing is
Back to-
healing, for sure.
Goes back to
Thank
saying
you.
that this is what we
Beautiful.
needed to hear. Somebody needed to hear it.
first, I mean, just thank you. The
I
first
think
two,
that touches everyone.
Arlen and Carla, just thank you for, I'm trying not to.
Awesome. Wow.
Let me tell y'all, as Arle was reading, I talk about the fact that I've cried more this year than I probably have cried in the last 20 years. And I'm a crier. I'm one of those sensitive Taurus people. You know what I'm saying? What I always think about, if you're really serious about writing, some of the most powerful writings when we have the courage to bleed on the page, you know, let it all out. You know, and that was really incredibly powerful. Because art should heal. Writing should heal as we tell our truths, you know, because the writing also helps us to make sense of the madness of the world. That's what writing is to me. It helps us to make sense of the madness of this world. And imagine if you didn't write that. Imagine if Carla didn't write that. And I mean, the first lines of Carla's piece was about decolonization, you know. Just thank you both. Wow. Whew.
Wow.
Yeah, and I'm looking at the chats, and Arle and Carla both, please, just like in the past weeks, a lot of folks will comment to you all in the chat, and what we're doing now, thanks to Chris Lopez, who's been running this session with today every week, we also save the chat, the comments, and please also support the folks who read, because it takes a lot of courage to read. Thank you for sharing that.
Okay.
Wow.
Thank you.
Leslie Cigar, you ready to share?
Yeah, yeah. Hi, everybody.
Hey, Felix.
Behind you, I see it.
Huh?
Behind. I love
Yes,
this.
Jimmy. So I'm out Cali, and Kev knows I'm starting the beginnings of working on my autobiography. So
yes,
I'll let her rip. I'm working out of order, which is crazy, but I'll figure it out. And I don't know if that's right or wrong in the process. So
you're getting a lot of love in the chat room. People love you.
Here we go. My body has always spoken to me. In my restless sleep, I wake up in the blue of the night to go to the bathroom, as I've done every day for 40-something years of my life. When suddenly I reach for the wall, ironically, balance. Balance which as a gymnast and a dancer came as easy as breathing to me. But unbeknownst to me in the night, did my restless sleep alarm me to my body's cry for help. My high tolerance for pain and my tom girl temperament allowed me to ignore the inevitable. That my throbbing hips was more than a bump in the night, but a life-changing issue that would change my identity, my only reason for being since I was a child, the ability for my body to express itself, soar through the air, glide across the floor, be topsy-turvy, speed, agility, flexibility, and grace, all suddenly came to a halt, or so I thought.
But that thought paralyzed me into depression. It turned a fiercely fearless girl who always saw her image in the mirror as a superhero into a whimpering and lost woman as if someone has stolen my cape. The clock is ticking. My body is screaming. The most subtle movements have become restricted. I feel weak and useless for the first time in my life. My relationship suffering in my mind because my sexual acrobatics are halted. It's later I realized it wasn't me at all, but that's for another day. More issues reared their head. My age, new gray hairs, needing glasses, not having a child, my 17-year relationship showing glimmers of failing, all because the pain I ignored engulfed me and broke me in more ways than I recognized. The clock is ticking because it's time to decide. Surgery is the only option, the only solution. This body has recovered under the knife many times, but this time, at this age, at this stage, the fear was overwhelming. Will I be able to flip again? Will I be able to spin again? Will my vanity of these new scars on a body that is so revered make me cower and hide all that I worked so hard to shine like a penny? The day is here. Surgery, a success. I'm now pain-free and more empowered than ever. You see, the mind of an athlete is not like regular folks. We have a switch, and when it turns on, we enter a zone that is focused, diligent, consistent, and OCD about perfection. Thank God for that switch. Like the bionic woman, my healing was immediate. I am now better, stronger, and faster, but that fear almost killed me more than the injury itself. But that was the storm I needed for my cape to really blow in the wind.
Wow.
That's it.
All right.
Kate.
That's amazing.
Excellent, excellent. And that is so true.
Beautiful.
My goodness. Yes, yes, yes.
It's crazy because I mean, I remember y'all when I started reading. I mean, these are called autobiographical essays or blogs or beginnings of people's memoirs or you know. And I remember saying to myself, how are people so honest? And you know, but you are. That was powerful, Les. And some of the feedback that you got that I agree with. I mean, where's that line? Gosh, hold on. There's so many posts. So Karika said, you got to keep writing. This is so good.
Wow.
Vulnerability is liberating. The imagery is powerful, so inspiring. And hold on a second.
This is probably the most I've ever even mentioned about the surgery, with exception to you, Kevin, because in this entertainment industry, anything that stops your ability seems like a weakness, which is probably why Chadwick Boseman never mentioned anything about his illness. So you hold all of that in, and then you're dealing with it by yourself, and it's a lot, you know? So when they say check on your strong friends, it's like really true.
Yes. Especially like you said, as an athlete, like that resonates with me when you talk about being an athlete. You never want to show weakness. You're always told from the time that you take that first ball, whatever it may be in terms of being an athlete, never show weakness. So I definitely get that. That resonated with me.
Yeah.
Being a dancer, please, we are invincible. You know, we can flip, flex, do all of this, and now getting older and what?
Yeah.
I can't hold that like I used to. You know, I can't go across that floor, 20 minutes strong. Like, I'm like, what?
So now it forces you to question your identity, right? Are you a woman first, or are you just a dancer, or you know, where does one bleed into the other? Are they separate, or you know, all these things, especially getting older.
Someone asked, can you repeat that line about the cape, Leslie?
Yes, thank you.
Where did I say it?
You mentioned the cape twice.
Let's see.
We really listened, Leslie.
I said it twice, so let's see. But that thought paralyzed me into depression. It turned a fearless girl who always saw her image in the mirror as a superhero into a whimpering and lost woman, as if someone has stolen my cape. And then I say, oh, thank God for that switch. Like the bionic woman, my healing was immediate. I am now stronger, better, faster, but that fear almost killed me more than the injury itself. But that was the storm I needed for my cape to really blow in the wind.
That fear is powerful too. It certainly can. It can
crippling.
weigh you down. Exactly.
Wow.
Exactly. Like,
How do you feel, Les?
Lighter,
Mm.
you know, even to like just the room of 100 of sharing just that secret. And I still haven't even shared what the surgery was, but you know, you never know. So.
You are a writer.
Oh, well, thank you. I received that.
Okay.
Claim it. Yes, you are.
We got a lot of hands up, so I'm just being random. And again, folks, we're going to get to folks here, Facebook page, also the next episode. And I'm trying to get folks who have not read before, if that's all right with y'all. Is that all right?
Yes.
Okay. David Martin and Andre Canty are on deck. David and Andre.
Oh, yes. I haven't read in a while or written in a while. I realize that I'm more responsive and accountable to others than I am to myself. In times of need, you may count on me to be there for others. Often, as an advocate, friends turn to me for an opinion or feedback on a situation. I feel a sense of duty to others because it takes will to reach out, and I honor that effort. However, while I've been sheltered in place, it dawned on me that I'd forgotten or given away a lot of my commitment to self. What about me? My needs, my wants. Having been forced to be alone with myself and my thoughts, this realization caused an inner awakening to follow my passions, tap into the things that make me joyful, focus on things I had forgotten, and reconnect with who I am, the me that I haven't shared. And that's as far as I got.
Wow. How did you feel writing it?
It was good. I mean, it was, I don't know, it just felt like I was just thinking about things that I had been going through and trying to not, I was sort of protective with some of it, not sharing the actual, I don't know, problems that I've experienced during COVID, but really thinking of how I've not given to myself, sort of given away myself or given away my desires, my, you know, things I want to do. And so I think this was a good start for me to really focus on why I'm not doing it and what am I going to do about it.
What I thought about, and thank you so much for sharing that, David. I really, really loved it. How many of us out there, if you live alone or, you know, just your child or children have felt waves of loneliness during this time of COVID?
No, definitely. Yeah.
How many of y'all have felt like you lost your sense of purpose at some point?
Yeah.
Wow. I mean, whether you realize it or not, David, that piece could easily be one of the things that people will read 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 years from now. What was happening? What were people feeling in 2020? And I want to encourage you to keep writing that piece and see where it's.
All right, thank you.
Seriously. You know, I mean, it's very difficult sometimes to write in the middle of stuff, the Great Depression, you know, segregation, the Holocaust, you know, but we know some of the greatest work, you know, when you look at Baldwin, when he talked about segregation, the Diary of Anne Frank, literally during the Holocaust, you know, knowing that she probably was going to die, we get this incredible this incredible piece of work. And so, you know, I thought about a lot of things listening to you, like just, I mean, even the way you've read it, I could feel, you know, a lot of the things that I've thought about, the isolation, the loneliness, you know, where's this all going? You know, what am I supposed to be doing, if anything? And so thank you. Anyone else?
Yeah, thank you.
Anyone else want to share with David? I mean, sorry.
I wanted to point out that the vulnerability that David shared, as well as, I'm going to say the wrong name, the woman who just shared right before David. Leslie, thanks. Yeah. That vulnerability and that specificity is the reason why people are going to want to read what you write. Like
Yeah.
the more specific it is, the more it's like, wow, how do I feel that same way? It seems like a miracle, you know, like, oh, that's a miracle. I feel that exact same way. And I'm not a dancer, but I feel that same way, you know, that like loss of purpose or that loss of identity. And so many of the people who read today were writing about identity and loss of identity. So
yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you.
Let's let, thank you, Dave. Let's, Andre, are you still wanting to read? Are you out there?
I'm here.
Okay. Where are you at? Which part of the world are you in?
I'm from the South. Well, originally from Knoxville, Tennessee, but I'm now in Louisville, Kentucky. So
wow.
I'm knee deep in everything. So, yeah. So that's where I'm at. Appreciate everything. So I'll kind of go from here. My mom and I are one and the same. Both introverted, both giving, both involved in movement work, and we've both been on paths of self-discovery. I've been on my own path of self-discovery after I left my home in Knoxville, Tennessee. For years, I've been involved in movement work, and it's been fulfilling. Policy wins, transformative wins, people wins, lots of smiles. But in that path, I lost myself and I lost my own passion. Like my mom, we're both givers, and we gave too much. We don't think about ourselves for the pursuit and the benefit of the people. As long as they're good, we're good, even though we're not good. We haven't been good.
Wow.
I've lost my mentee and my mentor in 1 year. I've lost an election. I lost relationships. But the movement is there. And for 1 year last year, I thought my job was done. I'm a protector. I've been a protector. Like my mom, we protect people. When it was time for me to be protected, me to be consoled, I realized not everybody's built that way.
Wow.
Became bitter about it. So I had to leave. I left my home of Knoxville that birthed me, that raised me, that molded me for a new path. I want to challenge myself again. So like my mother, who was a bodybuilder, I used physical activity to discover myself through adversity, through pain, and to challenge death every single day. Because if that weight, if that bag, though they seem trivial, if I could survive a day of rigorous training, I could survive anything. And through that pain, I rediscovered myself. And I learned more about myself going through pain from last year and in the weight room. And I took all those losses and I applied those. And I'll stop there. And from there, I've gained my passion back. Some was kind of over the place, but yeah, sorry about that.
Woo, that was powerful.
Appreciate that.
Yes, indeed. And never need to apologize. Never apologize.
Appreciate that. Yeah.
It's good to hear.
Thank you, Andre. Everyone who read tonight so far, every week I have the same question in my head. Who are these people that are just dropping these incredible words in honesty and wow. Whew.
That's powerful, Andre.
Very.
Really, as a mom, I'm a mom. I have a son. It's just me and my son, and Kevin can attest, I can be quite selfless and I give a lot back. And so sometimes I worry that I'm showing my son to be selfless almost to his detriment. He's only 10, and I see him already being taken for granted by some of his peers. And so it absolutely resonates, and it's a eye-opener for me that I need to, shore up myself a little bit more so he knows how to protect himself more, and so that he doesn't lose himself as well.
Yeah.
Thank you for that. Thank you. It's powerful. Thank you.
And Andre, I feel you as a fellow activist. I mean, we dedicate our lives to helping other people as to our detriment.
Yeah.
I mean, you hit some nerves here for me because I know what it's like to give, and then not have anything in return, start over again, over and over again. I mean, we want to change the world. We should work to change the world. We need to change the world. But a lot of times, and one of the things in one of our first sessions of this, where does self-love and self-care fit into this for us? Even as writers, making sure we keep something for ourselves. You know what I mean? I think that's, yeah. Wow.
May I say something here? This is Wanda.
Of course. Yeah.
In chat to everybody who's a giver, and you know this and you do too much, don't give away your service. The Creator gave that to you. He's hooking you up in other ways. For sure, we lose ourselves. We really do. And it is in our head, this is too much. But he tasks us, his second in command. You're watching out for his people. Okay?
Yep.
So that's a gift.
Yep.
God's work. You just give too much and you think someone's coming back for you, and no. That's because that's your service, your gift, and he gave that to you.
Wow.
But is that quote about not being able to give if your cup is empty or something like that? It's like that famous quote that's always circulating. It's like when you keep giving and giving and giving, and then your cup keeps going lower and lower and lower, and then you have nothing else to give anyone because you've depleted all of your resources, your energy, everything. And if you have children, it affects your child. And you can't take care of your children if you're not there, present.
My wife has taught me the words, give from your saucer, not your cup. So essentially, your overflow is what you give from. And that's something I have to learn. And Andre, your words, and trust me, they resonate with me, because when we're doing the work that we're doing, and, we have to then look at ourselves in the mirror, like there's that sentence, and I think somebody said it earlier, check on your strong friend. Like, that's real. That's real.
Yeah. And the thing is, Andre, and everyone knows this. I mean, essentially being a writer, being an artist is being a healer. And so by nature, you're giving, you're serving people. Same thing with us who are activists. But for some reason, as you were reading that, Andre, I also thought about two movies that I probably made the mistake of watching in the same week, and I shouldn't have. One was the documentary on Nina Simone. The other was the documentary on Amy Winehouse. And how both of them gave. And we know how the story ended with both of them.
Yeah. It's hard to watch back to back.
It was very hard to watch.
Yeah.
And there's cautionary tales in there, because I think also part of being a writer, like Leslie, as you tell your story in your autobiography, what do we learn from Leslie Cigar? What do we learn from your journey? What can we do differently? What wisdom are you giving us? And I mean, what you were doing, Andre, was giving us wisdom, and I love the fact, because people know that I talk about my mother a lot in my writings. So I got a soft spot when I hear mother mentioned, what I'm saying? That's a powerful dynamic right there. Arlene knows what I mean, because her and her son remind me of my mother and me. I tell her that all the time. Thank you. We don't have a lot of time left, and so I won't be able to get to the rest of the hands, but can I just ask a question of folks who do have their hands up, like Kim, Dara, Sharing, Elsie, Veronica, Andrea, Wanda, Allison, Kristen. That's a lot of y'all. Oh my God. just anybody, how did you feel just the exercise of just spontaneously writing for 10 minutes of something from a first person? How did you feel? Just short, 30 seconds, 45 seconds. How did you feel just writing?
I loved it. And that's exactly what I need. I have to be prompted. I have to, like class, I have to have say, hey, you got this assignment. I'm so much better when you say, this is your topic, you do this.
Yeah, me too.
I felt like that. I felt that it flowed easy. I was surprised at how easy, I was able to come up on the spot. I didn't think I was able to do that. And then the words just flowed. I wrote 2 actually back to back because someone else in here inspired me. So I ended up writing something else after that.
Yeah, because of where I am emotionally, I wasn't sure I was going to be able to do this last moment like that.
Did you?
I did. It was just a paragraph, but
that's all we asked.
I got it out.
Right.
Okay. Krista, Tony, anybody?
So as a student,
Sarah.
Okay, so as a student, I'm a student of Natalie Goldberg, so this is all in her practice. So it's like, oh yes, do this. But it was a reminder, I should do this when I'm not in class with her or not in my group, but I should just come back to the practice of, here's the topic, right? I don't practice unless I have to. And so it's like, I had no problem doing this, but it's a reminder that, and I'm a poet, so I'm always poeting. I'm always writing another new poem. I'm helping start a school, so I'm always writing for that. But it's like, oh yes, I can do this. I was good at this. This is where I started. I need to come back to this craft too. And so it was a reminder to focus back in.
Anyone find it difficult to write about themselves?
Oh,
yes.
Yeah.
No.
People are like, nah, I'm good. I can write about
I had forgotten what I was asking.
It's hard sometimes to be honest with myself.
Yeah, I think that's what it is, just confronting your own self.
Well, that's what writing is.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, I can write easier about concept, but when I want to apply the concept to me, I'm like, all right, look, girl. And then it ends up, sometimes it ends up something else, but, you can give me just about any other prompt that you say start with I, and I'm like, oh, Lord, here we go.
Exactly, right. And because you honed in on
which
that.
one of my twins is going to come out in this one?
Right.
Yeah.
You a Gemini?
I am a Gemini.
I am a Gemini too, so nothing wrong with us Geminis.
No Geminis. I'm gonna get Gemini.
I always say I are interesting. I are interesting.
We are interesting.
Me, I struggle because I always I'm struggling with the idea of what I'm passionate about and what I do with passion. I kind of had to pause on that for a minute. I came up with something I think was nice, but that's always a struggle for me right now. And I always kind of use other people to judge for me what was done, what was passionate about whatever act or thing that was done. For me, I approach it with everything with the same level of passion. So sometimes I get confused about, was that the work and effort I put in? Was that done effortlessly?
Wow. Wow.
Whenever I'm forced to write about myself, I find something new I need to work on. And I don't mean in writing. Yes. I'm like, oh, I haven't dealt with that issue. Okay.
Yes.
Let's add it to the list. It's like, so, yeah. So this was
out of curiosity,
I know that feeling.
Out of all the writers that I've mentioned, and this, you all should explore all the 6 that we listed there, but I really want y'all to, if you write essays, blogs, if you're just going to be a great writer, period, Joan Didion and James Baldwin. Joan Didion and James Baldwin. What they both mastered was the ability to look in the mirror and hold a mirror up for the world. It's not easy. It's hard. It is very hard to write about your own experiences. We've heard people in previous workshops here say they didn't want to hurt people's feelings. Some people are alive, some people are dead. Y'all remember that from a week or two ago? But I just think that we don't grow as human beings, as writers, as artists, whatever, or activists, whatever words or phrases we use to describe ourselves, if we aren't willing periodically to confront ourselves. You know what I mean? In some form.
I'd like to just piggyback on that with the writing exercise. That's what I found to be difficult, because you said write about something that you're passionate about and, you know, about this year. And for me, I'm very passionate about what's been happening to Black people. And so I just found it difficult I've been watching a lot of documentaries lately. I watched one on the murder of Emmett Till yesterday. And I just have been reflecting on our past and where we are now. And it was difficult for me to envision what our future will look like. And I really don't know. So I just found it difficult to really admit that the happy ending that we're looking for might not happen. And what does that mean? And what are we going to do now? You know, like, where do we go from here?
Wow. Well, as an exercise, I want to throw two pieces of writing, quote unquote, at y'all as we check out of this workshop today. Listen to Dr. King's, no, actually don't even listen to it. Read Dr. King's mountaintop speech, April 3rd, 1968. Read it. Don't even listen to it. Just read it, because it's an incredible essay or blog in speech form. And then the next day, as y'all know, he was assassinated, and Bobby Kennedy had to give a speech to a majority Black crowd, this incredible white brother who had learned how to become a bridge builder in Indianapolis, Indiana. And he had to announce to this crowd that Dr. King had been killed. Read that speech, which is an essay, a blog. What they have in common, they both use I. They both talk about their own personal experiences. They weave in history, all those different things. And they both, at the end, found it in them, Allison and everyone, some hope. Now, I know it's dark. It's bleak out here. I mean, I'm going to a funeral, as I said to y'all, tomorrow morning, 9:30 a.m. But I think if we're going to be artists, creative people, writers, part of our job, leaders, influencers, is that we've got to not only say what's wrong with the world, but what we hope it could be, even if we don't see it in our lifetimes. You know, my grandmother, Allison, everyone out there, could not read or write, but her grandson, me, has 14 books. Because she understood, you know what, I may not get there, but whoever comes behind me gets to be on my shoulders, and they got to see some things and do some things that I couldn't imagine. Does that make sense?
What was the other speech you mentioned after Dr. King's speech?
Bobby Kennedy.
Kennedy. Okay.
Where'd he go?
He just exited.
I think we lost him.
We lost
It was Bobby Kennedy.
Bobby Kennedy?
That was Bobby Kennedy.
I'm sure he'll be back.
He said the very next day.
Yeah, it was Bobby Kennedy's speech after Dr. King's assassination.
Okay.
What was King's speech? What was the title of that speech?
A Mountaintop.
A Mountaintop. Thank you.
Y'all, and when y'all hear Bobby Kennedy's speech, like, don't just listen to how he announced King's death, because they whispered it in his ear as he was giving his speech, and he had to stop and then announce it to the people, like, as he heard it. But if you listen to, like, the whole speech, what he was saying will blow your mind. Like, the way he was talking, he almost sounded like, you just have to hear it.
Yeah.
You will understand why he was assassinated after you hear that speech, because he was all over the country spewing the same verbiage, spewing the same message. And it was off the chain. Like, you'll see him in a completely different light. He had changed immensely. So if you context that speech when he announces his King's assassination and goes back into his speech, is wild. It's wild.
There's a book by Dyson that about the meeting that James Baldwin and Bobby Kennedy had. That was that, and a bunch of other Black artists too.
Really?
It was like they kind of drilled him to the wall. They're like, you think you're a white activist? You think that you're on our side? We have some things for you. And that changed his life. You guys should totally read it. What the Truth Sounds Like. It's like that thick. It's good.
Thank you for that.
Yeah, thank you.
Computer died.
Thank you for that.
Can I say one last thing? Y'all, I'm so glad y'all show up. Like, I look forward to this every week, just saying. Like, everybody.
Yes.
And just hearing, like, I hear so little aspects of me, of my truth, and when everybody shares, and it makes me feel less alone in my own head. So,
Absolutely.
y'all,
Yeah.
so this is wonderful to me. I love it. I love being in all of y'all presence.
Where
did
you
go, Kimberly?
I often post that I'm thinking about you guys, you know, during the week. David, you mentioned last week that you were more of a technical writer. I'm a technical writer too. And then you said what you said tonight. We are all so connected with life and who we are, and children, and being caring and being open to different words that people say, different that people put it out there. I haven't said some things, but there's a few of you that we have connected just on so many levels, let me tell you, all of us. And it's just wonderful for me. I just love meeting. And we're speaking to more than 100 people every week.
Yeah. Thank you. It's the human experience. We're more alike and also diverse and different. It's just beautiful. Yeah.
I talk about this class more than anything, usually during the week. And everybody's like, what class are you in? Like, what is this class all about? And like, it is, I just have to be there. I just have to get there. And
sorry.
Oh, it's okay.
Go ahead. Mute everyone. Sorry.
I just happened to see it on my.
Sorry. Can
We're talking
everyone?
about you, Kim.
This is my first class.
The love fest.
Yeah, exactly.
Hey,
it was.
Can you hear me? Can we unmute everyone? I can't
See and hear you, Kevin.
Thank you all.
Hello.
Yeah, we can hear you.
We're here.
I'm embarrassed. I forgot to plug in my computer. I'm sorry.
It's all good.
You're forgiven.
But
No judgments.
no judgment.
And the writer's saying, save often. Plug that computer. Save often.
But we're basically done. And Allison, where are you at? Is she still?
All right.
Where's that? Allison. But Allison, thank you. In inspiring a lot of thoughts, and I appreciate it. I appreciate all of you. Love all of you. This was powerful. I don't even know what are we doing next week. What's the session next week? What is it? Does anyone know when we got the flyer?
I don't have it in my face.
Was it about selling your work or something like that? Or?
Is that what it is next week? Wow.
I don't remember.
It is how to get published in
getting published.
How to get published. Okay. So a couple of things. We're going to share everything, obviously, including the video tonight.
Yes.
Please support the Nuyorican Poets Cafe. Please, one of our oldest cultural institutions for our communities. Thank you all who shared tonight. Thank you all for trusting me to lead you through this tonight, and or to co-lead, because I believe that we lead each other through this. This is why it's interactive. Thank y'all for making me cry a couple of times, for real. You know what I'm saying? Tears are healing. Let's hope the vice presidential debate is much more substantive than what happened last week, tomorrow night.
Kamala better bring it.
If it happens.
Yeah, I mean, you know they're gonna have them 12 feet apart with plexiglass between them. Did y'all hear that?
Yes,
I mean,
Pence is complaining about the plexiglass.
And I mean, if Pence is hanging out with Trump, who did y'all see when he drove around the hospital?
Oh God!
Don't get me started.
Don't get me started.
Don't get me started.
Don't start. Don't start with that fool.
You got all those Secret
They rolled
Service
them around.
I think it couldn't get any worse. Just when you think it couldn't get any worse.
All
you know
that for photo
It
op.
gets worse and worse. Oh my
Did you see the
God.
comedian who said they rolled him
We got-
around
we
like
got
a
one-
baby to get him to go to sleep? They put him in the car like you do babies to get him to go to sleep.
I mean, y'all realize this is the first time I can remember. Can anyone correct me? I have never heard the Secret Service speak out against the United States
Me
president.
neither.
Never. Not ever.
Never.
They don't talk. They don't talk.
Right.
Nope.
It's just a flagrant disregard for other people's lives.
Yep.
It's really just appalling.
All of them.
Yep.
My
That includes the work staff at the White House as well.
Did you guys see him coming down the stairs from Walter Reed? I think he has a coach, because remember him coming down the stairs from the ship? Remember how fearful he was? He much better. And you see that tapping he was doing? I think they're in his head and they're saying, and he's like tapping the banister, like it's gonna be there. The banister is there, and tapping his as well. And they were in the front on him going up the stairs, and when he got up to the top of the stairs, and he was huffing and puffing, I was like, well, you know, I really can't talk too much about that because I get to the top of some stairs and I'm with the But you're not 74 years old, sweetheart.
With COVID.
Right, 74 with COVID.
Exactly.
Supposedly, and as Michael, if you haven't seen Michael Moore, the filmmaker Michael Moore's piece about Trump, I mean, his thing was like, if he's lied about everything else, well.
Right. Thank you for saying that, because I kind of don't believe he has it.
I don't
believe it
I don't
either.
think so either.
But
I
it's
think
sad
it's
that
all
someone is such a perpetual liar.
Exactly.
That
And
That's
how
true.
sad is that we can't even believe that this man has COVID? Like,
I
But do you think the
I put
doctors are
nothing
in on it
past
too?
his
Well, I think the doctors are. I mean, these are the same doctors who said he was in excellent health in 2016. I'm like,
Right.
Okay.
I mean, they allowed him to go out for a photo op yesterday.
Yes.
Wait, do you remember when he did the photo op with the Bible at the church?
Yes.
No.
Bible upside down.
And
And had them tear gas the protesters.
That's right.
How is he still in the office? I don't understand.
Yeah.
And he had the Bible upside down. It was upside
he
down.
had the Bible upside down.
Yes.
Clearly he doesn't read it.
Know what to
Clearly
do with it.
No, he doesn't read it. No.
When he said
president, any other president.
Did y'all see the meme when they said that when they showed the Bible exploding in his hand, like literally exploding?
Now, I tell everyone he is the manifestation of a cartoon character.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, it's just
totally.
I feel like we're in an extended episode of the Twilight Zone. Like,
Totally.
Don't pick on my show like that.
Next
Well,
Has anybody seen The Loudest Voice on Netflix yet?
No. Is it good?
Yes.
Oh
Watch that
my!
tonight.
If you watch that, Robert Ailes, like he formed Trump, like he convinced him to run. He wrote speeches for him. He wrote. I mean, that documentary is like I just talk about speechless. Like I could not believe like he literally delivered speeches that then presidents read. Like he felt like it was his responsibility to do that. That I was blown away. Like, and I just watched like
The Loudest Voice.
The Loudest Voice. I just watched the first season, and I'm like, I can't believe that actually happened. It was him. It was him that has him sitting in the White House right now because of Robert Ailes. Because of him.
It's real tough. I had to back away for a few days, and then I went back to it because it's real enlightening that
oh my gosh
really be going on. It's very deep.
Well, this is why we need writers, storytellers in all forms, because no one will believe that we lived through this 100 years from now.
I know.
No.
Oh, yeah.
And now he said he's not going to approve the stimulus until he wins.
Yeah, did you see that?
Well, I mean,
So sad.
I mean, unless Kamala and Joe Biden win convincingly, and if it's close like it was in 2000, remember 2000 with Bush and Gore. Just remember what happened then. Think about that. And the serious voter suppression that happened. I mean, there's a reason why they're trying to push this judge to replace Ruth Bader Ginsburg before the election. They know what they're doing, you know.
We'll be all the way into March before we know.
Early.
Yeah. So I
Can you imagine what his soul contract was? His soul agreement. Because I strongly
you mean SOUL. You mean
on a much deeper level that
yeah.
he made some agreements before he got here. As we all
right.
know.
That's
so
what I
for
believe.
him, what was his agreement before he got here to even be this person? Because the lesson in all this is much deeper.
Yeah.
Much
I
greater,
agree.
on a far greater spiritual,
thank you for saying
not
that,
religious,
Veronica.
but spiritual level. And
Yes,
so
Miss
what is the
Veronica,
lesson?
yes.
And I think that we have spent so much time centering him and centering whiteness that we've forgotten that we need to be centering us and centering what is important to us. Not saying that we shouldn't vote wholeheartedly. Please do that as well. But it's a yes and to all of this. And it's something far greater going on, because for this to be happening also at the time of COVID-19 and COVID-16-19 is as Pastor Dr. Moss says from Trinity, being COVID-16-19 and COVID-19. And so I just repeatedly think, what was his agreement? Because that was a hell of an agreement to be this person, to show up at this time and to be who and what he is. And as the mental health part of me, you know, I always say if I'm ever teaching psychopathology, I will definitely be using videos of him to teach about what is mental dis-ease, mental unwellness. Because there's something big and something happening here with him. The amount of grandiosity. He's not, as the sister said after the first debate, he's not running against Biden. He's running against the system. But the irony is, it's the same system that shits on us. He's running against the same system that shits on us. The system that shits on us, he's also running against that same system, not Biden the person. He's running against, no, I have so much grandiosity that I will not have this debate in a civilized manner. I will not do X, Y, and Z. So I have constantly thought about what's his soul agreement? What did he come here with? What is his true job in coming here?
Yes, Mr. Powell.
Veronica, I think that you should write a piece called "What is the Soul Agreement?"
Yes.
I think
that would never be shared. Let me just say that.
What'd you say, Veronica?
I said it has already been written, but it will never be shared.
Right.
Oh,
wow. What was written even scared me. So
no, you're right. Hey, everybody, revisit Rosemary's Baby.
No.
Seen that in a while.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Folks, I gotta go.
This was good.
Thank you.
Let's move this to Facebook, the Facebook page for until next Tuesday. Can we just, close it out with some meditation again?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Love y'all.
Love y'all. I appreciate
And just wanted to thank you for doing this and connecting with us.
No, this is beautiful. I love it. I love everything I'm hearing.
Yeah.
Soul agreement. Wow. We're gonna close it with that. Let's just breathe in through our noses, eyes closed, positive energy. The world is deep, but we're here to be truth tellers. Do what we can to change things. In through the nose, out through the mouth. We are loving this beautiful space where we share civilly, respectfully with each other, helping each other to feel empowered, freer. And my hope is that all of us will keep writing no matter what. I am a writer. I am a writer. We need your voices, folks. We need your voices. Let's do 3 together in unity. Through the nose, in. Out through the mouth. In through the nose. Out through the mouth. Then one big slow one together, in. Then a big ah. Yeah. As we say, peace and love to all of you.
Yes.
You know, see y'all on Facebook. Keep writing.
I am a writer.
I am a writer.
I'm a writer.
I'm a writer.
Yeah, I'm a writer.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Peace, y'all. Love
Peace.
you. Love you lots.
See y'all next week. See you on Facebook.